Hi everyone, I'm Yves, your HPHR Journal Fellow, and welcome to Unbox. The HPHR Journal, formerly known as the Harvard Public Health Review, is a publication of the Boston Congress of Public Health, a nonprofit organization that seeks to improve health equity and social justice globally through the publication of public health content grounded on thoughtful evaluation of evidence. Last week, we were able to take a closer look at resilience within our homes with FH Moms. And this time, I'm excited that there's a related topic despite all that's happening in front of us. For today, we'll be joined by an amazing roster of panelists from international and local non-government organizations. And I'm more than happy to introduce them shortly. And for our first panelist, she is the Technical Officer and the National Professional Officer on Mental Health and Substance Abuse at the World Health Organization Country Office in the Philippines. Please welcome Dr. Jasmine Vergara. Dr. Jas, good day.
Good day, Yves, and good day to everyone.
Our second panelist is the co-founder and the CEO of United for Global Mental Health, a UK-based global mental health charity that exists to advocate, campaign, and fundraise for greater political and financial support for mental health. In her role, she is responsible for all aspects of running the organization and has foresight for policy, advocacy, and financing work. And over the course of her career, she has developed and delivered successful national and international campaigns and initiatives aimed at governments, international institutions, and political parties at the highest levels. Everyone, meet Sarah Klein. Welcome, Sarah.
Thank you, guys. It's lovely to be here. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And our next guest is a Filipino social entrepreneur and community volunteer. After returning from Los Angeles in 2017, he founded BEAGIVER Ventures Incorporated, a social entrepreneurship venture that helps impoverished school children through its buy one, give one business model, where he is now the president and CEO. Let's say hello to Josh Mahinay. Josh, we're glad to have you here.
Hi, Yves. Good evening, everybody. Glad to be part of this conversation. Thank you.
Great. So this room is indeed filled with wisdom, and what better option to do but to start our discussion. To many, this may already be quite a familiar topic, but we also want to hear it directly from our leaders in the different facets of social impact. To you, what is kindness and what inspires you to be kind in this pandemic? Sarah, would you like to do the honor?
Thank you, Yves. And thank you for the question. It's an important one to think about, particularly at the moment, as you said, in the context of COVID. I think when I was thinking about what kindness is, I was thinking about it in terms of empathy and awareness, but also in terms of tangibility. In our work, it's not sufficient to be kind. We need to make sure there's a tangible support for people who need it. Yes. And there's huge scope to be active in terms of prevention. By being kind, we can prevent mental ill health and we can prevent unhappiness amongst others, and that's an important part of what we're trying to do and who we are. So I think all of those factors are part of kindness. And in terms of COVID, what we've seen is that people have reached out, they have connected with their communities, but there's also been a lot of isolation and a lot of challenges for people unable to directly meet up maybe and spend time together. And also just simply finding the situation has increased anxiety and general depression. So I'm happy to talk about each of those a little more, but those are how I've thought about kindness and how important it is in the time of COVID.
Thank you, Sarah. So kindness as the culture of connection and empathy. So let's hear it this time from Dr. Jas, shall we? Dr. Jas?
Thank you, Yves, and thank you, Sarah, for that. For me, kindness is, it's one of the values that one would actually, want to receive and to give. I remember, during when having some struggles and all, when someone offer kindness or kind action, maybe a little thing, it matters, right? And it really feels that you're being supported, you are feeling better, and those little acts of kindness really goes a long way. And in the context of the COVID-19, where there's a heightened stress, psychological distress, everyone is, affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. Somehow our thoughts, difficult thoughts, becomes hooked thoughts and behaviors. We're pulled away from our values, and we're pulled away from the person we want to be. We want to be, decide to be rather. So pulling ourselves back to our values of being kind is really, really, one of the great aspects that can help us and help other people recover. We know that when we are kind to ourselves, we have also enough energy to help others. So I'll start from there. Thank you.
Thank you, Doc Jazz. So that's a very good reminder. Kindness starts within us. And this time, let's go to another NGO figure that trusts on kindness. Josh, can you tell us more about your personal take on kindness and how it inspires you amid COVID-19?
Right. So for me, kindness is a natural manifestation or expression of a grateful heart, of a life consumed with gratitude. And even prior to the pandemic, my motivation of launching my organization, which is called Be a Giver, or in Tagalog is called Maging Mapagbigay in Filipino, which means inspiring a culture of generosity. And that has been my personal experience as well. So I think that kindness, in a way, is planting that seed of goodness in the hearts of people that we hope that can blossom into something wonderful and powerful in the future. And I personally believe that kindness or generosity is the way for us to go as a community, either with pandemic or without pandemic. I think that if we want to progress as a community or as a nation, we need to be kind people. We need to be people who can look after the welfare of those who have less in life. And that has been also instrumental in a lot of ways, personally for me and with my community and my volunteers in dealing and coping with the challenges and stresses of the pandemic. So I can start from there.
Wow, thank you, Josh. Insightful. So manifestation of a grateful heart, indeed. So let's move on to our next questions. This October, we've celebrated World Mental Health Month. And even in September, we observed Suicide Prevention Month. So the past months have been really busy for many mental health communities and advocates out there in such an important cause that takes the spotlight. So this is for you, Doc Jasmine. A lot of emphasis has been given on empathy and kindness toward well-being. So how does kindness play a vital role in our well-being, especially this trying time?
Yes, as mentioned, it's important that this value of kindness is returned to us at the height of stress and brought about by the pandemic. While we look at mental health in the full spectrum, right, the continuum from well-being, mild, moderate to mental health condition, yung emphasis to shift from the focus on clinical management to a more broader, self-care aspect, mental health promotion, and how your team are doing. When we, promote mental health, promote kindness. Yes. Regardless of the situation out there, being kind should not be, it can go a long way. It should not stop us from being kind, regardless of the situation that we're in, maybe in a difficult situation, or even if there are form of, let's say, crisis or some form of violence outside the community, it should not stop us from being kind. Because as mentioned, while we give support to others, we should also look at how to be kind to ourselves. Yes. Sometimes we forget to, be kind to ourselves. We have to also step back. So that's also a good way of, supporting your own well-being.
Thank you. So right from our WHO partner, let us not forget ourselves in practicing self-care, and, manifesting kindness shouldn't be that grand. And that kindness is really good for our well-being, which leads us to making kindness into an impact. So Josh, we know that BEAGIVER is one of those communities that anchors on the community's kindness in making an impact to our society. So can you tell us more about the story behind this campaign of translating kindness into action?
Okay, so during the pandemic, with movement restrictions due to health safety, me and my organization were not able to do a lot of things that we've been doing for a long time in the community, which is going out and be with our adopted community to implement projects. On top of that, the situation surrounding the pandemic were so overwhelming that members of our organization, I can sense, including our volunteers, were feeling down, and most of them are unmotivated, anxious about the situation, and feeling all sorts of emotions, really, especially the helplessness. So after 2 weeks of mostly not doing anything, and really just observing and feeling the situation around, I personally and a lot of my members, got deeper and deeper into the dark emotions. And as a leader, I realized that there's a need out there for others to receive our kindness. And that kindness is the very opportunity that many of my members and a lot of Filipinos are also in need during this time of crisis, to feel that void in their hearts, that the kindness that we can give to others is also the kindness that we will receive, through others in this very challenging time. So if I may share my personal experience or my organization's experience, to realize that even during this very critical moment, or during this crisis, during this pandemic, we realized that we have something to give to others. We have something that we can offer as our way of showing kindness. We did inventory of our resources. We look at our platform, our system and processes, and rally help for many communities across the Philippines. We adjusted our online platform to provide people free access to campaign tools, offered payment facilities, also marketing and campaign support and management support for free. So we agreed, me and my community and a lot of our volunteers agreed that now is not the time to make profit, because we are a social enterprise, but now it's simply the time for us to really offer what we can as our showing of kindness to other people. I feel that when people feel that they are useful, able to touch lives, able to uplift the situation of others, and impact even in the smallest and slightest way possible, they feel inspired and empowered, not only because they realize how blessed they are as a person, but because they are able to see a new or another perspective in life. The simplicity of happiness in the lives of other people is really just empowering and impactful during this time.
Wow. So you inspire us, Josh, and we applaud BEAGIVER's work in creating that ripple effect. As you said earlier, the kindness that we give to others is the same kindness you also can get through others. So an act of kindness can make waves of impact indeed. And for me, the best person to ask our next question is someone who has done an amazing work at a global scale. Sarah, you've been very open to share your journey as a person with lived experience, and we commend you for showing us how empowered advocates should be, and as a global health leader in mental health advocacy. So how does kindness help us become better movers of meaningful change in our own societies?
Thank you, Yves. And I just wanted to say to Josh how inspiring that story is and how important it is. So thank you so much for sharing that. I think it's great, really great. I was thinking about that. I think going back to what I said earlier about kindness, how you actually practice kindness. So there is kindness for yourself, but there's kindness for others. And as I said, I think for me, it's an awareness of people's different experiences, and being on that basis, what we've seen over the last year or two when we've been continuing our work is being aware of their diversity of experience through COVID, but more generally being aware of the diversity of people's experiences with mental health conditions. And part of what our version of practicing kindness is to really push for greater awareness of people who are suffering, who are experiencing human rights violations, who are simply not being treated as fully human because of their mental health. So that is one thing which is important to us. So about raising awareness of different people's conditions and requirements. And as Yves knows, we recently did a report on the need to decriminalize suicide, because there are 20 countries in the world where suicide is criminalized. And so that's a very obvious act of unkindness in a way, which is that it's criminalizing people's behavior or people's needs at the very moment they need kindness most. So that's one area. I think in terms of empathy as well, I think when you're thinking about people with mental health conditions or people who are feeling low or needing support, empathy is extremely important. And that means more than sympathy. It means, and I always rewatch Brené Brown's amazing animation about the difference between empathy and sympathy. But empathy means moving with someone through their journey, and it means taking time to share their pain. And that's a very courageous thing to do. And so with empathy, you need to then really get to the bottom of what is better practice, what is better support, and reform policies and practice accordingly, which is the work that Jasmine and others are doing. And then, as I said before, I think for me, kindness in terms of action is about tangibility. It is great to reach out and be sympathetic and to hear people's needs and to be empathetic. But ultimately, in our work as professionals working in mental health, it's about tangible change. So it's about the kinds of things that BEAGIVER is doing. It's the kinds of reforms that Jasmine is talking about. And so our job with my organization is to really push for tangible change in terms of reform at global and then at national.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. And I re-echo UGMH's stand as always in, making waves of change, not just through kindness, but meaningful advocacy, such as decriminalization of suicide. And because that's not right at all, that there still are other countries out there that actually criminalize suicide. So thank you for your work. Wow, we've heard a lot about stories of kindness, of empathy, and how these foster a safer space and more inclusive communities for everyone. So thank you, Doc Jazz, Sarah, and Josh. And not to keep you hanging, but tune in for the second part of our roundtable discussion as we explore more tangible ways in driving change through kindness. So see you there. This has been Ives, your HPHR Journal Fellow.